focus on being an inch wide and a mile deep rather than an inch deep and a mile wide. We think we can do 15 things well, and we can't. We need to take that energy and focus it on 2 or 3 things to really become an expert at that.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello, it's Neil Ball. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures, and successes. I am so excited to bring you our special guest today, Aaron Walker. But before I introduce you to Aaron, I have a quote for you. Saul Steinberg said, "Questions are fiction and answers are anything from more fiction to science fiction." The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions so we all get the insight, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Aaron, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
Neil, I can't wait to share, man. Let's do it.
Thank you for coming on the show, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Aaron Walker is a businessman and life coach who has inspired through his leadership, mentorship, and consistent pursuit of excellence. He enjoys helping others and believes experience is a great teacher. 35 years of entrepreneurship and marriage has given Aaron a wealth of experience. Aaron continues to reach new heights and broaden his perspective of the terrain by examining his experiences and growing from them. Aaron, can you please provide us with some more insight into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
Absolutely. I'm going to carry you way back to the beginning, and I'll do it really fast. I'll give you 38 years of entrepreneurship in about a minute. So I'm 18 years old. I go out on my own, meet a couple of guys. We start a business. The Lord really blesses it. We pay off a 10-year loan in 36 months. Robin and I get married 2 weeks out of high school. We have 2 beautiful little girls. We elect to put the money all back into the business, not take the money out. We grow the business. In 9 years, I have 4 retail operations. We sell out to a Fortune 500 company, and I'm done, I think, for the time being. So I retire at 27, take an 18-month break, go back in business, do it again for 10 years. Had a very bad car wreck in 2001. We took off 5 years. We started a construction company. We grow it to number 1 3 consecutive years. I turned 50 years old. I retire. My good friend Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller that I've been masterminding with now for 2 decades encouraged me to coach. And so I started coaching men. Now I have national and international clients. We lead 6 masterminds weekly, and we have what's called the community, where men all over the world come together in a private forum, and we discuss life and business, and I help ordinary men become extraordinary on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. So you've retired twice. That's fascinating. So you're almost there's something about retirement that you don't like there, is there? Is that?
I did it 3 times, at 27, at 40, and at 50. And you know what? It's not what it's cracked up to be. I've got to have something to do that's meaningful and purposeful, and I've got to have a reason to get out of bed each and every day. And when you retire, you're watching reruns of Andy Griffith or playing golf, and that just didn't interest me.
Mm-hmm. So how are you making money now for what you do?
You know, I coach men one-on-one. Mm-hmm. We have 6 mastermind groups, and there's 10 men in a group. We're about to launch our 7th mastermind group. We have several hundred guys or a couple of hundred guys, I should say, in the community, and we're going to scale that to multi-thousands over the next 5 years, and that's the way I make revenue.
Mm-hmm. And can you just talk about why businesses should have coaches or should be in a mastermind, and what the difference are between the two?
Yeah. There's a couple of things. First off is coaches can help you get there faster, right? I've had a lot of experience. I've owned a dozen businesses. there's a lot of the things that I can prevent people from doing, or I can encourage them to do more of that. And so there's no teacher better than experience. The mastermind groups are twofold. First of all, it gives you the resources and the encouragement. And the second half of mastermind groups is the accountability, which is huge in our lives today. We all want to do things, but when we have accountability, it urges us to stay fast to the plan that we've implemented. And so that's what masterminds have done for me for over 2 decades now.
So would you say that business owners should be in both of those then?
Well, I even hire coaches now personally. Mm-hmm. I've hired Dr. David Kruger in Texas that was my personal coach to help me with psychological concerns as to why we do what we do. And so I have LinkedIn coaches. I have social media coaches. I have personal coaches. I've had spiritual coaches. It just helps me understand where I want to go faster and enables me to understand it from a different perspective. And that's why I hire coaches all the time.
And what do you enjoy most about what you do?
Helping ordinary men become extraordinary is a real meaningful and purposeful event in my life. Used to, when I had these other 10 or 12 businesses, it was all about me. And what I've learned in this business is it's all about the client, because I'm helping them achieve their goals and desires. And out of that comes great gratification for me.
Mm-hmm. And what is it that drives you?
I would say watching people obtain their goals and dreams drives me. I want people to be better. What's funny about this, Neil, is as a result of me focusing outward and helping mm-hmm. people be significant and successful, has transpired into being the most successful financial business I've ever had. And it's just a paradigm shift in the way we think. And I teach people how to be not only successful, but significant.
Mm. And how do you relax when you're not working in your business?
Well, for me, working can be relaxing because I so enjoy it. But the things that I enjoy the most is my family. My faith is primary to me and it's most important. And secondary is my family. My daughters live 5 minutes from me. Both my daughters work for me. My grandchildren, I have 5. I get to spend time with them on a daily basis. And so 90% of my free time is spent with my family.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
Dan Miller and Dave Ramsey are a couple of pretty good role models. They've grown their business to be very, very large. And being close, Dave Ramsey gave me airtime to try him 20 years ago. I was one of his first clients. He quickly invited me to join his mastermind group just a short period of time later. And I've got to watch his business grow, from 3 employees when I first started with him. He has over 550 employees now. He's just struck a deal here in Nashville that he's going to have a new complex he's moving all of his locations into. He'll have over 1,000 employees. It's a very, very profitable business. Dave's been a man of character, and I've got to watch that up close. And so he and Dan Miller would absolutely be my 2 role models in business as an entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Aaron. Can we talk about the time before you were an entrepreneur? And can you tell us what difficulties you had to overcome when you started your business?
Yeah, I've really always been an entrepreneur. I started working for a local retail shop when I was 13 years old in Nashville. And when I was 15 years old, I'd made the decision to go into that business. I went to summer school and night school for 18 months. I had enough credits at the beginning of my junior year of high school to graduate. So I didn't have to go my junior and senior year. So I worked full time. And I didn't have any money. I came from a very broke family. My dad was a general contractor. We lived in a 600 square foot house. There were 4 children. My parents were very honorable, credible, very high morals, but they just weren't good business people. And so I knew nothing about business. And the hurdles for me was learning more about how to be an entrepreneur and learning to be in business. I knew what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to physically work as hard as I saw my dad work. And I knew there had to be a different way. And so for me, overcoming those hurdles and being self-taught was a real challenge for me starting out. But if you have that grit and perseverance and determination, you can do it. It's just that we have to set the frame of reference and our mindset to wanting it more than we want to be in the position that we're currently in.
Mm-hmm. And did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
No, I didn't have any delays. I was very proactive in that, and I teach people now to live very proactively, not reactively. I knew that I didn't have a privileged background, so I wasn't going to be able to go into business on my own. My parents didn't have any money. I didn't have any money, and I knew that we were going to have money to go into business. And so I looked outward and found some guys that were investors that had money. I approached them, put together the business plan, and they said they thought it was a good thing, and we did it. And so there was nothing really that I had to overcome in regards to that, because I've been very proactive my whole life. Mm-hmm. If we're going to be successful, we need to be proactive and not reactive.
Mm. And what mistakes did you make that slowed your journey then? Did you make any?
You know, I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes in business over time. Really, the mistakes for me weren't in starting. My mistake was selling at 27 years old. I should have never done that. I look back and think about it now, and it gave me some money and it gave me the ability not to have to work again. But I probably could have made a lot more money had I had trusted advisors that could have guided me and directed me and shown me a better way, like a manager. You know, I thought I had to do it myself. Mm-hmm. I wasn't willing to delegate. And so I probably could have turned that business into something much larger if I had had non-biased, trusted advisors giving me good advice.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the things that you did before you started your business that be helpful tips to some of the listeners who haven't yet taken their first step on the entrepreneur way?
You know, I can't really answer that, Neil, because I started at 18 years old. I was still in high school, mm-hmm. and so I didn't have any work experience prior to the 5 years that I'd worked for the retail company, and that was from the time I was 13 until I was 18 years old. So I'm not qualified really to answer that question.
Okay. Can we now talk a little bit more about the entrepreneurial journey? And do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
I think it's paramount, the culture to the business. A lot of the things that are going to keep the business going long term is the chemistry of the people that are associated with it and the culture as to what you're trying to accomplish. We're building, and I only coach men, nothing against women. It's just that I've been around men for 30 plus years in accountability groups and leadership positions in my church and the mastermind groups that I've been affiliated with and associated with. I'm a high D on the DISC profile, so I'm very pointed, I'm very direct, and sometimes that doesn't fare well with ladies because my wife said I make ladies cry, you know, because I'm so direct. And so I've just elected to coach men. And so the chemistry for View from the Top is all men. The relationships there are all men. And so we're developing an aura, if you will, of character, integrity, honesty. Those are some of the things that we're trying to develop within View from the Top.
Mm-hmm. And knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
Oh, absolutely. The number one key ingredient to growing any business is relationships. And relationships are paramount. Number one, it is the main ingredient to being successful in any business. And what I would do more intentionally is grow those relationships purposefully. I would reach out like we do now, and I've been doing for a couple of decades. We spend a lot of time setting up coffees and lunches and dinners to meet people that I don't know, because it's the relationship is the number one key. So for you guys that are just starting, you need to be very intentional about building relationships.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you actually build relationships with people?
You know, there's a couple of things that I believe in strongly. Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a great book called Jab, 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 Right Hook, and it's a boxing analogy of giving. And we need to have permission from other people to be involved in their lives, and we do that through giving. And so I'll sit at my desk daily, and I will write an endorsement. I'll do a video testimonial. I'll make a phone call to check on people. Here's the thing, Neil. If I were to call you today, here's how it would normally go. I would ask, Neil, how's it going? It's fine. and I would ask you some question. And then I would say, listen, while I've got you on the phone, I want to ask you a question. I always get tickled at that because I want to say, you liar, now we know why you called, right? You didn't call me to check on me. You called me to ask to borrow my saw, or you called me to introduce you to someone. You wanted something, right? That's the way it goes 99% out of 100. So what I do is I'll call you, and here's how our conversation will go. Neil, how's Miss Ball? Fine. How are the children? Fine. How's your business? It's good. What can I do to help you? Well, I don't know. Well, think about it. And if there's some way I can help you, if I can make a connection, if I can lift you up or edify you or encourage you, I would love to do that. Well, great. Well, you're waiting on me to ask the question. And I'll go, have a good day. And I hang up. And you're like, Aaron really called to check on me. It makes this indelible impression. It's like he was really interested in me as an individual. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing is I edify people. I lift them up. I encourage them. I tell them they can do it. I walk with them. I tell them, let me introduce you to this person or that person without them asking. I said earlier that I do LinkedIn endorsements, video endorsements, and I do this without people asking. When you get an email from me and there's this 2-minute endorsement about what a great service that I've experienced with dealing with Neil on his Entrepreneurial Way podcast, you're like delighted. You're like, I can't believe that he took 2 minutes to send out such an endorsement that you will then put on your social media and you will share with your audience. Or you looked on LinkedIn one day and you see this great recommendation from Aaron Walker to Neil Ball. And you're like, he's the guy, he's the real deal. See, it's like I'm proactive. Or I'll send a gift. I'll hear you tell me I like Kenny G, and I listen for these little clues. And then I'll send you a Kenny G CD or a book that you've liked, like you say, I want to read Essentialism and I need to read it, but I haven't yet. Well, I'll tell my assistant, hey, send Neil Ball this Essentialism book. It cost me $15, but you didn't ask for it. I just heard you say that. One of my clients the other day, I heard he loves hockey. And so he told, just through conversation, his favorite team. So I got on Amazon and I found a hockey puck that is a plug-in charger for your cell phone. And so I ordered it and they sent it to him and he's like freaking out. He can't believe it. See, it's those little things that we don't pay attention to. And if you'll do this on a daily basis, you'll be amazed at what it will do for you as an individual, and you'll be amazed at what it'll do for your business.
It's interesting you say that. I've not read Gary Vaynerchuk's book on that, but I have, or Vaynerchuk's book on that, but I have read Bob Burg's The Go-Giver, which is a similar sort of thing. So
I interviewed Bob, by the way, a couple of weeks ago in the community. I interview authors and experts in their own right in our community, and Bob was my guest a few weeks ago. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I've talked to him a couple of times on Twitter or LinkedIn, and yeah, he seems like a nice guy. How much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
That's an intuition that you're asking me about. And as I said earlier, I'm a person of faith. A lot of people listening to this may be or they may not be. So your gut feeling oftentimes can be indigestion, right? So you got to be careful with gut feelings. It also can be kind of a sixth sense, a sixth sense that some people have. I get that through my faith, through prayer, through meeting with people that the general consensus of the multitudes is very important to me. Usually if you'll ask a dozen people that are very competent, and when you get a general consensus, more than likely that's going to pan out. I read the Bible, and so through those things, I get that gut feeling, as you're calling it, and oftentimes I'll go at it from that approach. But be careful by operating on gut feelings, right? Because oftentimes your gut can steer you wrong. Data is a really good thing to have, and you really want to get as much data as you can on any decision.
And what advice would you give to other business owners that may be struggling in their business? Have you got any sort of key advice?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I would do. First of all, the majority of the problems, I see it in most businesses, is they're hyper-focused on themselves. And that's really what I teach business owners today, is to how to live a successful and a significant life. Now, don't hear me wrong when I say this. I'm all about making money. I love to make money. I'm making more money now than I've ever made in my career. So I hate it when a person with money says money's not important, because I want to say you're a liar. It is important. Just don't make it priority, right? It can't be number one. There's got to be a bigger reason that you're doing what you're doing, and that's to add value to other people. And if we'll concentrate on adding value to other people, you'll have customers lining up to buy your service or your widget. You've got to really determine for you what success is. For me, it was having my own time. I love to schedule my own time. I didn't want to punch a clock. I've never punched a clock since I was 18 years old. I've always been an entrepreneur, so I love scheduling my own time. The other big thing for me was having financial independence. I like being able to pay my bills and not have to worry about paying my bills. Another thing for me in success was relationships, and I've already talked about that a little bit. It is absolutely one of the most set aside things that we do. We don't do it intentionally enough. And so I would say build those relationships daily. Then you've got to look at the significant piece. You've got to say, how can I help others when it's not convenient for me? How can I help others that they can't repay me? And we will even do intentional random acts of kindness to help other people that can't help us, and we do it anonymously. And it keeps my motivation intact, the reason I'm doing that. And then I want to have the foresight to invest long term so that I can change generations to come. And if you will keep both of those things in perspective, you can have a successful and a significant life. So what I would say in summary is to focus more outward than you do inward, and you'll have a much more gratifying life.
Thank you for that. That's a great answer. Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not. And many say the only constant in life is change. Aaron, how do you try to keep up with change?
Well, first of all, I spend the first hour to hour and a half every morning in quiet time, meditation, prayer. The remainder of my time is like everyone else. I go through my email and check it, but we have to stay in a constant state of personal development. And that is through great podcasts like The Entrepreneurial Way, listening to those guests. It's like reading great blogs. It's like reading great books. I've read hundreds of books, and I urge the listeners to do the same, whether it be through Kindle, conventional book, through Audible, whatever way you like to do books, because we don't wake up smarter, right? We've got to put something in there. TED Talks. There are so many good things to grow from a personal development standpoint. I heard Jeff Hoffman say, the founder of Priceline, recently, that he reads one article a day that has nothing to do with anything that he's interested in. And he said so many opportunities have come to him out of reading about things that he knows nothing about. And so that is just one little trick that I've learned recently at a conference that Jeff Hoffman spoke on. But you have to constantly be filling your mind with proactive things. A couple of good books I've read recently is Mindset by Carol Dweck. It helps us to have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. Greg McCowan wrote a great book called Essentialism, to where we focus on the vital few things that are really important and get the things that are not necessarily vital out of your life, the distractions, and focus on being an inch wide and a mile deep rather than an inch deep and a mile wide. We think we can do 15 things well, and we can't. We need to take that energy and focus it on 2 or 3 things to really become an expert at that. And so constantly filling your mind with good, positive things. The second thing that I've done 12 years ago, Dan Miller challenged me on this, and some people will say this is irresponsible, and that's okay. I stopped watching the news 12 years ago. There's only so much that I can do with all of this devastation that I hear, and it just keeps you in a state of depression. And so I elect not to watch the news. So those are just a couple of the key components that I do to keep myself positioned to grow.
You mentioned books, and you also mentioned a couple of books in there. what is your favorite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you've chosen it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy for me. Carnegie wrote it, and it's a classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah. And it ought to be a required reading. And it's an old book. It's been around for decades. But really what it does is it teaches you how to deal with people. And if you'll understand how to deal with people, you can make it applicable to any industry. And I'm certain that the majority of your listeners have read that book. You need to reread it. It is something that I tout constantly to other people, that How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've had people double their revenue in 12 to 18 months with a 10-year-old business by implementing strategies that is in this book. And so How to Win Friends and Influence People would be it for me.
Okay. Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time when you may be doing other things, such as when you're driving or when you're at the gym. We have a special offer for you of a free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you haven't already signed up, then you will qualify. Aaron, can we just speculate a little bit about the future? What one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
Quite honestly, failure for me is I don't even think about failure. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to answer it with a statement. The biggest obstacle for most entrepreneurs are they're afraid. Mm-hmm. And I tell people that other people are not talking about you near as much as you think. You're not that popular. None of us are. And I tell people that fear missing an opportunity more than you fear failure. And once you develop that mindset, you won't even think about failure. And for me, the failure is in not trying, not in not succeeding. And there's two things happen. You either succeed or you learn. And then take what you learn and apply it to the next venture, and you will succeed. And so get the word failure, first of all, out of your vocabulary.
I wasn't really aiming it at that particularly. What I'm really getting at is, what is it that you do with your business if you didn't have to concern yourself about cash, or it might be that you need a certain skill, or you need some more, I don't know, whatever it is, something else in your business to make that happen. But you've not got it because you can't get it. Maybe you need people that there's people you can't afford to get in your business, or you don't.
Well, that's always the deficit, is qualified people. Mm-hmm. I could grow this business to be 5 times the size that it presently is if I had qualified people that had that same grit and determination, perseverance, willingness to grow and go that I've got. Mm-hmm. But there's a deficit for those people. Most people don't want to put the energy and the effort and the work. They don't want to delay that gratification. And so we're really short on people. Money's not a problem. I know more people that have so much cash that they want to invest, they can't find the good people. Mm-hmm. So if you're that person, resources, funding is not going to be a problem. The problem is qualified people. So if that was the thing that wasn't holding me back, I could grow this exponentially with more qualified people.
Okay, thank you for that. And what skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
It would, there again, go back to the relationships. It's just the ability to listen to people intently, to focus on them, stop waiting your turn to talk, right? Fully engage with people. All businesses, service, sales, it doesn't matter what it is, we're dealing with people. And if you can hone your skills to learn how to interact with people, you'll be successful at what you're trying to accomplish. Mm.
And in 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
Yeah, I would like it to say that their life has been better as a direct result of being in communication and dialogue with me.
Okay. We're now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. So, Aaron, what's your favorite quote and how have you applied it?
When I was young, my mom had a little saying. She would, first of all, would never allow us to say the word can't. Mm-hmm. And she had a little saying that I've adopted it as my lifelong mantra, and it's can't, couldn't do it, and could did it all. And so I've developed such an opinion of my self-esteem, my self-worth, that I can do something So I don't even say can't. My answer is always, yes, I can do this. With proper training, with time, I'll learn to do that. And so I would just suggest never say can't again, because can't couldn't do it and could did it all.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any favorite online resources?
ZillionDesigns.com. We use it regularly. They have about 41,000 graphic artists that can do pages, they can do logos, they can do websites. So for me, that's a really, really good resource, ZillionDesigns.com.
Mm-hmm. And what is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
The best advice would be back to what I said just a few minutes ago: fear missing an opportunity more than you fear failure. And if you'll adopt that approach, you'll be successful at your venture.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of Aaron's favourite resource or his favourite books, you can find the links on Aaron's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneurway.com and search for Aaron or Aaron Walker in the search box. Aaron, is there anything that you'd like to add about your business?
Not necessarily about my business as much as I brought a little gift for your listeners.
Okay.
And if you'll go to viewfromthetop.com/Neil Ball, mm-hmm. NEILBALL, all in lowercase letters. There's 3 resources I use on a daily basis that helps people's lives change. It's a catalyst for their change. One is a personal assessment. There's 30 questions that you can ask yourself personally. Dive deep into your identity, your ideals, your relationships, your career, your faith, whatever things that you deal with personally. The second document is, what do I want? Most people, Neil, don't even know what they want. This helps you establish in your personal life and professionally what you want out of life. The third one is steps to a productive day. It's kind of a to-do list on steroids. It helps work you from the very early morning hours all the way through until you conclude your day. So the personal assessment, what do I want, and steps to a productive day, I've taken the price off of those and I'm giving them to your audience. All you got to do is go to viewfromthetop.com/Neil Ball.
Thank you very much for that, Aaron. Aaron, it's been an absolute honor having you on the show. You've really given us some great thoughts and shared your wisdom from many years of being an entrepreneur. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. I sure enjoyed it. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Thank you.
See you, buddy.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.